Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. Glad to have you. I thought I might want to talk about rider aids today. Should you use them? Should you not use them? And does it matter if you're a new rider? Well, having ridden for as long as I have some thoughts on that, because I've done both. So why don't you stick around? You know, there are some things to be said for rider aids, like my RDRS system, and which I love, by the way, which has got me out of trouble a couple of times over the years. But what does it do when you're a new rider? Does it take something away from you? Now, I'm not talking about feel here. I'm talking about knowledge. Because, you know, I learned to ride on a motorcycle that was bare bones. And let me tell you, you learn something. You learn how that bike feels, what the rear brake does, what that front brake does, and just how it handles and how the tires grip the road. And there's something to be said for learning how a motorcycle works. And believe it or not, that's a big thing. I know when you're getting your motorcycle test, you probably are on some kind of 250 or 350. It doesn't have those things. I don't even think you should have, you know, the auto-sensing brakes either. You should learn first. Because it's all part of the learning process. Because, you know, if you're learning and you've got computers running your bike, you have no idea what they're doing. They're doing behind the scenes. You know, I've got students, or had students, that in my business, there's a lot of computers, and they just want to push buttons. They want to use their plugins and all that kind of stuff. And they have no idea what that stuff does, because they've never been around in the analog world, which means they know nothing about physics, how physics works. Same thing in the motorcycle world. You have got to get on that motorcycle and make some mistakes. Now, they don't have to be big mistakes. They can just, you know, learn about why you don't touch that front brake when you're turning and going slow to get gas. You know, when you have a braking system like mine, we hit that back brake, it automatically trail brakes for you. But you have to know that stuff. You want to know what those three computers are doing behind the scenes. You can't be ignorant of that stuff, because it'll make you a lazy, stupid rider. And you don't want that. What you want is to know how that motorcycle works, so that when you're coming into a corner, you know what's going to happen before you start touching those brakes. You know what that motorcycle is going to do, because maybe you've had a couple of years without the computer. Now, when you're my age, I've had 50 years on a motorcycle, and I really love my 3 computers. And I know what they're doing behind the scenes. They've helped me out a couple of times, mostly in the rain. And but at least I know what they're doing. The anti-lock brakes, I know how they're working. When I put it in the rain mode, I know that what traction control is going to do. I know that rain mode is traction control on steroids. And I know how the bike's going to react before I start using it. It's important to be one with that motorcycle. And once you get the rider aids, you know, you'd be better off, well, better understanding them. Because if you don't know what the man behind the curtain is doing, you could end up in trouble. And maybe those rider aids won't help you. And you certainly don't want to do that. But I would suggest getting a couple of years, at least 1 year, on a bike that doesn't have anything. It's a bare, naked motorcycle. Just regular cable clutch, cable brakes, nothing added. Get to know how that thing works. And you'll be much happier, I guarantee it. You know, I think I have an advantage in that when I grew up riding bikes, there wasn't any computers. And I think my age, all the guys who ride, are just much better riders for it. I think I'll go down here and get into some shade. Oh yeah. Well, I gotta say I love coming down here. The breeze off the Gulf was nice, and good shade, lots of trees, a really interesting place, good boat launch. But when I come in here, I'm glad I've got the RDRS system. Lots of sand, lots of stones, just pieces of trees, bark. So I'm glad I have it. And my RDRS has kind of saved my bet about a couple times in the rain, because when the rain hits, hit the rain mode and the traction control, it just goes into, boy, it's traction control on steroids. But I like mine, but I know my bike, I know what it'll do, and I know how they work. So if you're thinking about getting a motorcycle, and whether you're young or you're middle-aged or you're old like me, I would definitely get a bare bones bike for at least a year and get to know how it works. Hey, get some wrenches out. Ride it around with your buds a few times, but it's not necessary to get rider aids first thing. Just wait a couple years, and that's when you can enjoy them.